Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today, I know last week on Tuesday was my movie collection, but Tuesdays are going to usually be either rankings or top tens. And top 10 that when, I mean, put a post on Facebook and Instagram, and the winner this week was ranking all 8 generations of the Corvette. Um, Corvette, I love, I'm just a huge vet guy. I've been a vet guy my whole life. Um, yeah. Corvettes are the best. They're the car that got me into becoming a car guy and all that. So Corvettes mean a lot to me. And each generation has I feel different about from first gen to the current eighth gen. So let's start the ranking at in eighth place. And the lowest rank is a C4 Corvette. C4 Corvette came around 1984 to 1996. And the reason why it's my least favorite of the 8 generations Corvette is because, to be honest, it's the most bland of all the styling of the Corvettes. There were some good engines in it, like the ZR1 and stuff, but it just I just never was the biggest fan of the fourth generation Corvette. It's still a Corvette, but I hate on the car. It's just of the 8 generations is by far my least favorite. It's like, but I would say if what fourth gen Corvette kind of its shape had the main staple for fourth gen through seventh gen, pretty much. All those were pretty similar in a way, how they were laid out, which is pretty cool. But yeah, last place it's fourth gen Corvette. It's still a Corvette, so I still like it, but it's just my least favorite generation of the 8. And then next on the rank list at seventh is the C7 Corvette. C7 came out 2014 to 2019, the second shortest lifespan of a generation of a Corvette. And the reason why the 7th gen's so low is just because it didn't age well with me. When it first came out, I thought it was awesome and I loved the way it looked. But it's just it was a little too different for a front engine Corvette in my way. I wasn't the biggest fan of the the exhaust so close together right there, or there's all the points on it and stuff. I wasn't a big fan of. It wasn't as clean for a front engine Corvette like the C6 or the C5 was, in my opinion. Other than that, though, this regular Stingray, like I said, wasn't the biggest fan. It was still awesome looking. It was just, like I said, it hasn't aged well like the C6 has, or even the new C8, in my opinion. But I don't mind the square headlights in the back. I know it's not traditional like Gen 2 to Gen 6 when it was circles, but it has to get a younger audience that like the Corvette, or else the Corvette would have it's been for wouldn't attract to older people because of the way it looked was so similar from the fifth gen to the fourth gen. With the rear end, they had to change it a little bit, so I understand that. But the biggest disappointment and why I see seven's as low as it is because the ZR1 to me was a little bit of a disappointment in the way it looked. I was not a fan of the wing, and I was not a fan of how the grill looked. So drastically different than the grill this Z06 or the regular Stingray. But the Z06 is by far the best of the C7s that came out. I love the Z06 from seventh generation is my favorite seventh gen Corvette. So that's why the seventh gen's in seventh place. At six is Gen 3 Corvette. Now the reason why the Gen 3 is so low on the list is because they should have did Gen 4 sooner than 1984. I think they should have done mid 70s because from 68 because C7's lifespan was from 68 to 82. I think they should have stopped late 70s or something because first the Corvette in this from the late '60s into like the mid '70s, I liked a lot. It was awesome looking. My favorite though was probably the Greenwood Corvette from the third generation because of the front headlights and stuff. Or the 24-hour Daytona and the 12-hour Sebring races, which look really awesome. I love that look for the Corvette. Um, yeah, it's an awesome. Third gen's a great looking Corvette from the first few years, but then I just think they lost their style into the 80s. So I had a C3 is at 6. My 5 favorite though of the Corvettes starts with original C1. The C1 is just to me timeless looking. The first C1 generation is from 53 to 62, and there's just something about the C1 that's so different than the others. It's majority of the time it was a convertible until the early 60s, but then of course they didn't have that much power back in the first few years, but that power came to a V8 in the late 50s. My favorite year of the first gen Corvette is 57 and 58 are my two favorite years. It's just a classic design, C1s are, and that's why it's in my top 5. It's just a timeless generation. Before going to top 4, before going to top 4, um, these 4 Corvettes are going to be really hard to, for a future generation to crack into because these 4 are my solid favorite generations of the Corvette. So, starting with the Gen 5. Gen 5, I like a lot because it's a Corvette. I got into cars in 2000, mid 2004, and it was the last year of the Gen 5 Corvette. Gen 5 first came out in 97 through 2004. The Gen 5 is just a timeless design. The last um, up and down headlights were on this Corvette. It was a lot bigger, boxier than the C4 or even the C6 that came after it. And I just like the curvature of the Corvette, and I loved it. Um, rear headlights on it. The C5s are just awesome looking, and the Instacar Corvettes Gen 5 I like a lot more than I do the C6. But this, like I said, it was the Corvette that was out when I first got into Corvettes and stuff. So has a little sentimental value to me, the C5s, and that's why they're in 4th place. At 3rd place, and a lot of you might be surprised, but the new C8 that debuted in 2019 and the first year was last year. First mid-engine Corvette. It's an awesome car, way better than the C7 sign-wise, and I'm a big supercar hypercar person. I love McLaren and Lambo, and the way it looks, it finally looks like a contender that can take them on, and especially the Ford GT that came out the last decade. So C8 has a bright future for the Corvette, and the price point is 60,000 for a base C8. It's amazing. I can't wait to see the Z06 and the ZR1 in the near future. But C8 is a bright future, in my opinion. Great Corvette, and it's definitely gonna be my top 4 for a long time. I have a feeling. So, but the top 2 would never probably get top. Starting with the C6 Corvette that came out 2005 to 2013. I love the C6. My favorite modern Corvette. The Z06 is awesome. The base C6 is awesome. But the ZR1 from the C6 era is my favorite. It's most pure, just power, but no really twin turbos. You can still get a manual for it, unlike the current ZR1, and it's just an awesome car. And it's my favorite Corvette's symbol is from the C6. It's just an awesome car. The Z06 was in the Z28 for Camaro for the 4th generation. It's just an awesome car. The C6 was so. C6 is an awesome Corvette, easily my favorite modern Corvette, and I just love it. But for number 1 though, the only thing that I like better was the C2s. C2s came out 63 to 67. Everyone who's a Corvette fan, C2 is always up in their top 3 because the C2s are timeless design. You have the Grand Sport, you got the classic split window, which is a legendary Corvette, and then my favorite classic car, that 427 1967. The C2s are timeless and they're never going to get topped. I love the C2s a lot. Easily the best Corvette design, and it's just a classic, timeless design. The C2s also did not last the longest. It only lasted 5 years. The C6 are just amazing. Easily, my opinion, my favorite Corvette generation. And yeah, so they're ranked in 8th place. The C4s, C7s are in 7th place. The um C3s are in 6th place. C1s are in 5th. C5s are in 4th. C8s are in 3rd. C6s are second, and the winner is the C2s. Um, that was my ranking video for today. Please comment, subscribe, and like. And I'll have a movie review tomorrow, then an album review on Thursday, and then a reaction possibly on Friday. So um, next week we'll see what the ranking of top 10 gets picked to be. So I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.